Well, we have some new cases and mysterious illnesses that seem to be looking like the bubonic plague and or Ebola. We have had an ESPN reporter mysteriously die of a mysterious rare illness. Zac Efron almost died, and this is just crazy, y'all. Let's get into it. So while Zac Efron was recently working in Papua New Guinea filming a new series or something, he contracted a mysterious illness that he was essentially quarantined for. And this was in Papua New Guinea, which is not far from Fiji, which, for those who have followed all of these outbreaks, that's where that couple was. And let's go to what's going on we had this ESPN reporter mysteriously die of this rare supposed pneumonia immune situation that they're calling phagocytic lymphocytosis, a rare disease that affects the immune system and can be fatal. This just seems very strange. He lives in LA, which there's already been reports out of LA with the bubonic plague, typhoid, and all of these other very deadly diseases. We've had many quarantines for, they go into what this supposedly is, but they're saying it's pneumonia. This just, for a healthy young guy to die of pneumonia, it is just silly. It makes no logical sense. He went to the ER, they tested him for that, and gave him some antibiotics, sent him home, and he had to come back because he was getting worse. And so that's what a main concern is. They're not testing for Ebola or bubonic plague right off the bat, and then we're back to China. China pneumonia, they're calling it pneumonia. Outbreak raises spectra of SARS as number infected jumps to 44. All of those with this mystery illness in Wuhan are under quarantine, health authorities say, with further 121 people under medical observation. The virus could be a new strand and take longer to identify, experts say. So they're telling you in your face they don't know what it is, or they don't want to tell you what it is. Chinese health authorities should be on high alert for a possible new strand of pneumonia and learn from the 2002 deadly SARS incident. And let me see, 11 of them were serious condition, while the further 121 people who had been in close contact with these infected patients have been on medical observation. No deaths have been reported. But you got to remember, this is China. We don't get a lot of information out of them. They will hide it because it will kill their trade. If people find out that, oh gosh, there's the bubonic plague or Ebola or something coming out of there, they're going to cease trade with these people. This would be detrimental to a lot of countries. It came as Hong Kong's hospital authority confirmed a flu-like disease. This is just, they keep saying it's like this or mystery. But concerns have been raised about this new strand. And nowhere in this new article do they talk about that bubonic plague that killed a few people the other day. It's so silly. No apparent human-to-human transmission has been detected so far. Well, then how come all of these people are on quarantine, essentially. That's the worst thing, is that they hide it from people, and we can't get. Anyway, let's get to Fiji. Normal back to school preparations for Fijians in quarantine areas. Really, Fiji quarantine areas? You mean like when we said that they likely had Ebola in Fiji a year ago and they acted like nothing happened? Y'all remember? The family still has not been told what that couple died from. Still. It's been 10 months. The health ministry has given the green light for students residing in the measles quarantine areas to report to school on the 13th of this month. And they can carry out their back to school shopping. In these areas, we have quarantined the sub areas of, I don't know how to say that, cleared for all students to go to school. This is just ridiculous. The minister's head of health protection, let me see hold on. Let's strengthen the measles vaccine program. Meaning what? Add something else to the vaccine and not tell you that it's actually for something else because they don't want to freak everybody out? I would rather know the truth than them hide it and say, we don't really know what it is. So don't protect yourself. And to Australia silent as another large Ebola outbreak crosses their borders. Now, this was back in June, but for those who didn't follow my outbreak series, which I will put at the end of this, because you need to see, if you haven't seen all that, you need to see the progression of all of these situations in order to understand the gravity. This is not just some isolated incident. This is going on, and they're having to start reporting all of these situations. And they let a lot of people cross their borders, as did we, from the DRC, which we proved without a shadow of a doubt that Ebola can be in the body for at least up to 2 years without showing any signs and symptoms, and can be transmitted by sexual contact because it's in the testes, it can hide in the eyes, and actually the scientists finally had to admit it, 2 weeks ago? Which is what we had said almost a year ago. So back to this Zac Efron situation. He was medevaced out. Let me see. The actor posted on Instagram Saturday. Efron said in a statement. Sorry. Let me get to the part that. Okay. It was. Wow. He reportedly came down with typhoid or similar bacterial infection in the middle of an off-grid shoot. A doctor with the team believed to have evacuated Efron declined to discuss the nature of his illness. Why? But did say that he had treated a U.S. citizen in his 30s from Papua New Guinea to Brisbane for medical attention, and that the patient was hospitalized in stable condition. Efron's doctors reportedly allowed him to return back to Los Angeles on Christmas Eve after he spent multiple days undergoing treatment for typhoid is a life-threatening. But why? Why did he have to be under a quarantine like this for so long? And then they say, it can be transmitted through food and water. They're saying they don't know what it is. That's what they're telling you. And I bet that Zac Efron doesn't know. And if he does have it, if he did have Ebola and they don't tell him, that's so irresponsible. Because they now have said that, yes, it can be transmitted for years. because it can hide in your testes and your eye and your spinal fluid and all of these other things. But they're not open. Well, they did openly say it, but of course that didn't get much attention. It's so ridiculous. Let me see. So he had a high-grade fever that required antibiotics, but that didn't exactly work at first. And they are now, the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices recommends a vaccine for people traveling to this area where typhoid is a known risk. And for those who have followed, you know that typhoid, dengue, bubonic plague, Ebola, the flu, all of these things have such similar situations and symptoms that it truly is hard for them to, if the doctors aren't looking for it and aren't testing for it, they're not going to see it. And in China, the Wuhan government official asked for them not to put out their name. Why would that be? Why? If this is just pneumonia, why would that be? There are many potential causes of this type of illness, and further laboratory testings are ongoing to determine the cause of the disease. At this point, severe acute respiratory syndrome. Oh my gosh, y'all, this is so irresponsible. Just absolutely irresponsible of them to do this. But as I've said so many times, this is not to scare you. This is for you to be prepared. And you need to I want you to get this silver. This is what me and my kids take, and it does so many amazing things. You can go to the link that I'll put in the pinned comment. You'll get 20% off. And I have all this stuff, the soap, the lozenges, the gel, all of this stuff. And there's nothing that's ever going to be 100%, but how this works, it gets into your bloodstream, okay? The silver does. And so when a virus or bacteria or yeast or something like that gets into your system, what it does is, instead of attacking your cells, it goes and attacks the silver. The silver attracts it. It's kind of like, you know how atoms and stuff, how they taught you in school, where like they need to attract to the other electrons to make them happy or whatever. Think about it like that. So if they have something else, if the virus has something else that it can attach to, that's what it's going to attach to first. And that's what that silver is doing. So this does amazing things. It's not just for bacteria or whatever. But y'all, seriously, think about this. Even if we look at the situation with Iran, we need to be prepared for a SHTF situation. You know, and I would say when, because I believe that this situation is likely to occur, something. They're even warning about the Hoover Dam, have the grid coming down, all of this stuff, but just always be prepared. And I know, you know, most people have their weapons and stuff like that, but the things that you need to know are way beyond that. And I've gone into detail through many of my videos. I'll put that at the end along with the outbreak. I'll put the playlists to where you can click on those, look at the things that you need to have to be prepared. Because there's no reason to be afraid if you're prepared, right? So if something goes down, you're not going to be able to just go get antibiotics and stuff. So by having the silver, you at least have that. And then I go into other details. And I will do another video on like what I keep in my bag and stuff like that, especially for traveling or whatever, if you're even just to keep in your car. But just being prepared spiritually, physically, mentally, that's the best way to be prepared. Also, another thing, they just added this new bell thing. Well, Bear Independent is an amazing channel, but when you go and press subscribe, press all. I don't know what personalized means. And then there's a none. I'm getting a lot of messages from people that are saying they're not getting my notifications. So go ahead and make sure you press the bell and press all. But anyway, guys, y'all go subscribe to his channel too. He does amazing work. And I don't know him personally, but especially for preparation and stuff. But y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye, guys.